Today's audio article is entitled, Apparently Now, Greek and Roman Classics Are Symbols of Whiteness. I read an article in the New York Times last week that I found both fascinating and disappointing, although I must admit the disappointing part was wholly expected. It is entitled, quote, He Wants to Save Classics from Whiteness. Can the Field Survive? Unquote. The subtitle was, quote, Padilla Peralta thinks classicists should knock ancient Greece and Rome off their pedestal, even if that means destroying their discipline, unquote. Gee, I wonder where this is going. But hey, this is what the left does with anything with which they disagree. Call it out, isolate it, and expunge it. And as luck would have it, the author of this ridiculously long Times piece is in lockstep. Shocker. A couple of the reasons they cite for knocking, quote, ancient Greece and Rome off their pedestal, unquote, is because, quote, marchers in Charlottesville, Virginia carried flags bearing the symbol of the Roman state, unquote, and, quote, the white supremacist website Stormfront displayed an image of the Parthenon alongside the tagline, Every month is White History Month, unquote. Yes, that's exactly what the ancient Greeks and Romans were thinking. Man, in thousands of years we're going to be revered by American white supremacists. That'll be great. And naturally, Stormfront and the marchers exemplify all of us on the right. But I'm sure it was a mere oversight on their part, not to mention that the Antifa flag has a striking resemblance to the Nazi flag. Princeton professor Peralta has for years spoke openly of the harm done by the classics that they justify, quote, slavery, race science, colonialism, Nazism, and other 20th century fascisms, unquote. Yes, and all of which were abhorred by the founders of America, and which in our founding documents they gave us a means of extrication. The author cites yet another example of how, quote, the classics, unquote, have led America astray by explaining that, quote, they have shown that the concept of Western civilization emerged as a euphemism for white civilization in the writing of men like Lothrop Stoddard, a Klansman and eugenicist, unquote. Now, isn't it interesting that in today's parlance, the person cited, Lothrop Stoddard, would be considered a radical leftist, not someone of the right. As we know, but these leftists seem not to, the Klan was like stormtroopers of the Democrat Party, and eugenics began by a radical leftist, Margaret Sanger, as a way to exterminate the black race. Stoddard and Sanger were decidedly not of the right. Yet here they are attempting to paint someone of the Klan as representing all of Western white civilization. But why be any different from any other leftist academic? Now, if you haven't guessed by now, Professor Peralta is a black man, whose identity, like many black leftist men, is about being black. Not a highly educated Princeton University professor, no, it's all and only about his blackness, and apparently his oppression at the hands of the white man. Don't you feel bad for the Ivy League professor, or maybe the New York Times columnists? Peralta, like other single-identity minorities, paints with an incredibly broad brush, purposely lumping every Greek and Roman philosopher into one category, purveyors of white supremacy, despite the fact that neither Greeks nor Roman had any notion of such modern-day things. Sure, like every society on planet Earth, there were good philosophers and bad. Aristotle and Herodotus, for example, had some not-so-great ideas regarding politics and the human condition, but they also had some good ones that our founders studied and adapted for America. You know, keep the good, discard the bad. This was the genius of the founders. It's a shame, really, that such otherwise educated and intelligent people can be so narrow-minded. Thank you for listening.